Good evening, folks. Welcome to another Friday night here at Lock Grooves. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I know I haven't been posting like I should have. It used to be once a week. Now it's almost like once a month. So I promise I'm going to start getting back on schedule. I don't know what's been wrong. I've just been slacking. I do have some new subscribers. I welcome you. Thanks for subscribing. And I hope to have more content on a weekly basis for you. And for the other guys who watch every week or every time I post, thank you for hanging in there with me. Okay, so let's just jump right off into it. First album that I have is Oneness of Juju. It's an album called African Rhythms. It was released, I believe, in 1976. This is when they changed their name. They used to be called Juju. And they released 3 albums, I think starting in 1971, and they were more, they kind of remind me of the Jazz Ensemble of Chicago, or the Art Ensemble of Chicago. They were very, they had their faces painted, and they were very experimental, challenging to listen to. But, you know, in that vein, maybe the Art Ensemble of Chicago was a little bit more out there, but they were in that vein. When they changed their name to Oneness of Juju, they became more spiritual. They were still jazz fusion, more funk-oriented, soul-based. This is a really good album. It's not a challenging listen at all. It's good. If you like, you know, jazz fusion on that spiritual level, maybe not as far out as, let's say, Alice Coltrane, you will like this album. So there we are, Oneness of Juju, African Rhythms. Check it out. Now here we go. Another album of the year, possibly. This one is from a band called Cobra Family Picnic, called Magnetic Anomaly. I'm going to tell you something. This is the way to do psych. These guys, and really, if you watch my channel a lot, if you watch this Lock Grooves, you know that we like space rock around here. I mean, we are space cadets, and we use that as a proud term. We wear our badge fondly. We are space cadets. We like psychedelic music, space rock, noise rock. This right here could be the psychedelic album of the year. These guys, they're from Tucson, Arizona. They kind of hang in the same circle as The Mirrors, Mugstar, and I've shown, I don't know if I've shown a Mugstar album yet. I do have one I'm getting ready to show, but I do like The Mirrors. I've shown several of their albums, and I do have one in the mail, and I'll probably show that next week. And these guys, they blow The Mirrors away as far as psychedelic music. It is very structured, but they really put a lot of work into their music. I mean, it's not just a jam. It's not like, let's get together on a weekend and, you know, throw together a few tunes and we'll put a record out. They put a lot of work into their production of their music. There's noise and sound coming from everywhere and nowhere, and, you know, it's just like, you know, when I listen to music, I like to close my eyes, and you know, you can do this with me. Just close your eyes, and what I get from Cobra Family Picnic is immediately when the music starts, are you with me here? Is I picture my mind, I mean, the music just takes over my mind. It's like a bucket or a den of snakes. Think of big fat pythons, you know, the big colorful kinds. And they're turning all different types of colors, and they're slithering around each other, and they're on top of each other. Then they turn colors, and they start pulsating. And it's just a psychedelic blend, and that's what I see when I listen to this. I mean, the music provokes just this great psychedelic cacophony of lights and colors in my mind, and that is what I want from a great space rock album. And really, they have a Bandcamp page. Go check them out. Cobra Family Picnic. Now, it took a couple listens for me to get them. It took a little bit. But once you get them, you will be very thankful. So, check these guys out. Cobra Family Picnic from Tucson. Okay, so I was wandering around one of my favorite antique malls a couple weeks ago, and I found this album. Youth Against Drugs presents Drugs and What Your Own Child Won't Tell You. So, it was like $2. I had to pick it up. I had to listen to this. This goes good in my collection. Just the title alone. Now, the album is pretty boring, alright, but basically what it is this came out, I think, in 1971, and what happened is whoever made this album got a tape recorder and found a couple of burnouts, a couple of teenage kids that had some bad acid trips. They took some bad acid, probably the brown acid from Woodstock, and the hobgoblins from some unmarked grave rose up out of their tombs and chased them down the street and were trying to drag them into the fiery pits of hell. They had a bad trip, and for the love of God, they swore off drugs and were trying to convert people to Jesus Christ. And that's what you have here. They're very drug weary. They're telling people about their bad trips, and they're preaching the Lord. So, all in all, it's pretty boring, but it's kind of laughable. And I have a feeling, the 70s really hadn't kicked in yet. So, once they heard some Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin really kicked in and Pink Floyd hit their stride, I'm sure they were back, really enjoying themselves. But, there's a couple available on Discogs for $20. I wouldn't buy it. I don't really recommend this, but for a space rock collection or a novelty item, there you go. Okay, the next one is the Sonic Shaman, Tribute to Lemmy. So what this is, last week I was talking about Dr. Space. One of his albums I showed. This is kind of a space rock supergroup. And as I just mentioned earlier, how some bands get together for a weekend and they jam and they put an album out. Well, this is kind of what happened. These guys wanted to go to a particular studio. Can't remember where it is. Someplace in England, I'm sure. And they got members from Earthling Society, Orson Space Collective. Let's see, what else they got here? Red Electra, who I haven't heard of. Dave Anderson owned the studio. He was with Hawkwind and the Groundhogs and Amon Duel. So it's got space rock royalty. And they got together for a weekend and they just jammed. Now this was before Lemmy had passed away. This was recorded in November of 2015. And they, I don't know if they were going to dedicate this to him then, but a couple months later he had passed. I think it was maybe a month later, Lemmy passed. And so they put this together and they dedicated it to him. One of the songs is called Seven or Not, which is based on one of the Hawkwind songs called 7 by 7 off of Space Ritual, I believe. Now, is this any good? Yes. It's not as good as the Cobra Family Picnic album. It's just a bunch of dudes getting together, having a good time, and jamming. Now, last week I talked about Dr. Space and his solo efforts, and how I wasn't too fond of it. But he's in the pocket here. He does better when he's with a band. this is a good album. It's a double album, and you know, they did dedicate it to Lemmy. I don't know how many they've sold. This is black vinyl. I did see later on that they had some red and pink vinyl. On this edition, there was 200 printed. I got number 5. So I guess I got there kind of early on this. Not sure if they've sold out yet, but it's fun to have. I do like I said, I do like the members of this band. So, yeah, I recommend it. Just as, you know, it's not stellar. It was recorded in a weekend, but you could probably go to a Bandcamp page and listen to it and see if you like it. I was jamming to some Jimmy this weekend, or this week. This was his first album, and it was recorded in 5 sessions over, well, I say 5, but I'm probably wrong about that. Multiple sessions in London, and I can't remember how many studios, but he was basically just doing R&B, and he was found, I think it was by somebody in the Animals, and they said, hey, this guy cannot go unnoticed. We got to get him in a studio, and a legend was made. This is pretty much a greatest hits package. Every song on here, you pretty much know. Purple Haze, Manic Depression, Hey Joe, The Wind Cries Mary, Fire, Foxy Lady, Third Stone from the Sun. I mean, just, we all know this album. I had to drag it out. I don't have all of his stuff. I got a couple more of his albums, but I have to pick up Electric Ladyland. I think that's the only one I'm missing. I mean, there's a lot of albums released after he died. I don't have all those. There's tons of stuff, but his 3 main albums, I'm missing Electric Ladyland. I have to pick that one up. This one was last week. I was playing it, so you could probably, if you heard last week's episode, this was in the background, just like the album I'm playing now. I will show next week. This was a krautrock band called Between, and they were active in the 70s. This was released in 1980. It's called Silence Beyond Time. By the time this album was made, and this was their last album, they'd pretty much gone to New Age, but this is good New Age. I mean, this is still kind of on that krautrock edge, but it's got a Middle Eastern feel, and has pretty much crossed over to New Age. It's before New Age got sappy. You know what I mean? It's before, John Tesh invaded the territory. Recommend the album. Their earlier albums, I don't have any of them, but I have heard them, are more trippier, wilder. If you like that, they're kind of an unsung krautrock band. You don't really hear Between a whole lot, as far as like the realm of Amon Düül or Can or Ashra Temple. Monomyth, EXO. These guys, I believe, are from the Netherlands. And it's another space rock band, kind of, I would say, in the realm of Cobra Family Picnic. Great gatefold. And their mission, they actually have a mission. Their mission is to make spaced out psychedelic instrumental music. And mission accomplished. This is good stuff. This is top notch. If you get a chance, check them out. The vinyl is pretty nice too. I mean, that's sweet. You can pour that in a glass and drink it. Before I go any farther, just let me show you. Because whenever I do have a colored vinyl, I do like to show it. I don't think I showed. It's kind of a lavender color, Cobra Family Picnic. I did have this one. I picked this up at the same antique mall as I did the was it the drug album, the Youth Against Drugs. It's a Chicago 3. I mean, this is when music was art. When they just had free range. I mean, there's poetry on here. There's, you know, long songs or short songs. There's a suite. You know, this is. I used to not like horns on my rock and roll, but I do dig. You know, I've gotten to the point now where the first three Chicago albums I really like. And which one's my favorite? Probably the first one, the Chicago Transit Authority. But this right here is great. If you get a chance, if you've never heard it. Two left. Pick this one up for a couple of bucks. I have 2 or 3 other Synergy albums, and I do like Synergy. The man behind Synergy is Larry Fast, and it's electronic music, kind of in the progressive vein. This one, you know, it sounds like Synergy, but it's a little too hyperactive. There's not enough low points in here to like really relax to the way I like my electronic music. Cover's great. Will it get a lot of spins? Probably not, but I am happy to have it in my collection. I do like electronic music from the 70s, but you could tell this was 79 and it was going into the 80s. Last album, I got this for Christmas. I've been sitting on it. I've been kind of waiting to show this one, and I put on my Christmas list because I don't have any Faust albums, and so I just put Faust anything. And I got this one, which was released in 2014, and it just called Faust. I don't think there's any other name. It's just a self-titled album. Even though I don't have, this is my only Faust album, I don't have any other ones. You know, I do own them on MP3, and I've listened to them. This is just okay. There are other earlier ones are classics. They're great. This is, I guess, just them getting back together and noodling around in the studio. It's okay. It's not noisy. It just seems like it's them experimenting. How to really describe it? I would not call it song structure. I mean, if you like the experimentation, you know, where it's just a couple of guys messing around in the studio, you might like it. I mean, to me, it's background music. It's okay. But, I mean, it does come with a CD, but I can't imagine myself listening to it in a car. I mean, it's just not car music. So, that's it for the week. Hope you guys enjoyed what I showed, and like I said, once again, I do appreciate you guys sticking with me. I promise I will post more, and you guys have a great week. See you on the flip side, and keep spinning those records.